Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Help for the Guildless. My name, of course, is Antoine. And if I sound a little hoarse, it's because I am. I am coming down with the flu or cold or something. But that won't stop me from talking to you. And for what I want to talk about, I am a few days late, but it's okay. It's the downside of having a podcast that you only do once a week. The reason you clicked on this link is because the name that's in the title, and I'm talking about Milo. Hashtag Milo was trending a few days ago, and it's because of, well, Milo Yiannopoulos. He was on Bill Maher 2 weeks ago, had a stunning performance, and then, well, the shit hit the fan. I'm not going to condemn or condone anything that Milo said on the Drunken Peasants or the Joe Rogan podcast, because he spoke for himself very eloquently and succinctly, so I will let his words speak for him. Now, I originally thought I was going to actually just read his statement, but everybody already knows what he has to say. I want to talk about a couple of things, a couple of points that need to be brought up with this whole Milo situation. The first one being what started it. Now, Evan McMillan is a former CIA operative who ran for president for the 2016 election. And he remarkably got 22% of the vote of Utah, which coming in third against Hillary and President Trump. He had a hand in this. Now, Milo has had every name in the book thrown at him from the left. Racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynist, Islamophobic, xenophobic, and everything has just bounced off. They never really called him Kitty Diddler, though, and that's unfortunately where we're at. McMillan had an article come out with a video attached to it that was edited to make it sound like Milo was condoning a relationship between young boys and older men. The difference with this is McMillan is a conservative. He's part of the right. So the spark was lit, and the preceding inferno, which may not have been from the right, was definitely fanned into life by the left, by the liberals. And that's where we find ourselves now. Now I want to talk about the aftermath, and there are 3 steps to this. First one being, Milo was invited to speak at CPAC, which is a conservative convention. And it's very important. Donald Trump was there, and he would have been the Speaker of the House, basically. He was going to be talking about free speech. Well, that didn't happen. You see, the relationship between Milo and the conservatives is tenuous at best, and nitroglycerin-style volatile at worst. And you can see why. Milo Yiannopoulos, who happens to be a Jewish-born Catholic homosexual immigrant who can't stop talking about how he loves black dick, is not exactly what you think of when you think of the term conservative. As a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. So, the Republican Party does not want to be seen as old fogies anymore, because it's exactly what they are. The Republican and Conservative Party is seen as the old boys group that want everything to be exactly as it were. Which is not to say it's not untrue. The Conservative Party noticed something Milo has done in 2 years that they haven't been able to do in the last 20, and that was get the attention of a younger audience. Those new minds that are just starting to develop their political landscape, and Milo has the attention of them, and that's exactly what they wanted, which is why he was invited to speak. Macmillan, who did not like this, came out with this article. He's a little upset that someone who can't even vote is getting the honor of speaking at the CPAC. I can understand it, but that's after this article came out, and Milo immediately denied everything and apologized and everything that happened. The Conservative members of CPAC decided to uninvite him. So that was strike one. Strike two came in the form of Simon & Schuster. A day after he was disinvited from CPAC, Simon & Schuster then made a statement basically saying they can no longer stand behind Milo and his words, even though they stand for free speech. So Milo's book deal got cancelled, which is kind of a shock, because before it's even been printed, before it's even been out, the book is #1 in pre-sales on Amazon. So if Simon & Schuster don't want to make money off of Milo Yiannopoulos, I'm sure there are other publishing companies that are more than willing to. And this is actually coming about because if you believe what Milo had to say, he actually already has another book deal in the works, and the book should be coming out sometime later this year, possibly with another chapter. I bring this up because it's more of a personal thing for me. He got a $250,000 cash advance for this book deal, which means he had to pay that back. I don't know about most of you, but I don't have $250,000 to just give back. So he has to pay that back in full, no matter how much he spent of the $250,000 already. And then the third thing that happened, because bad things always happen in threes, is he resigned from Breitbart. Now, this came about because after all of the things that happened, there were 6 Breitbart staff members that came out and said, if you don't fire Milo by the end of the day, we will quit. And this then brought about the press conference the next day where Milo basically said he resigned. If you have been listening to this podcast and you follow Help for the Guildless, Cole once talked about Leigh Alexander and when she resigned. People in this portion of the corporate world never get fired. Ever. Basically what happens is Milo got taken into the back room or into his editor's office or whoever's in charge. He is offered to resign. You can resign and you'll get a severance package, and your dignity will be intact, and we will go our separate ways. Or you can be publicly fired, you won't get a severance package, and everything else that is entailed with that. So most people tend to take the resigning portion of it, for the simple fact that it looks better on paper than just saying, hey, I was fired from my last job, you want to hire me. Now, even though he got fired from Breitbart, he's already working on a website. As a matter of fact, he's got his own website, which has advertisers, so he's still making money off of doing what he wants to do. And these are 3 amazing instances that Milo has landed on his feet. Yes, he got disinvited from the CPAC, but at the same time, now more people want to hear what he had to say and why he got disinvited. 2, he may have lost Simon & Schuster, but he still has book deal. And 3, he resigned from Breitbart, but at the same time, from resigning from Breitbart, he now has his own website. He's still writing articles. So good for Milo. Now I want to point out a little bit more of the aftermath of this. And this is kind of what I really want to talk about, because it's frustrating. Now, George Takei has practically come out and said the exact same thing. When I say practically, I mean almost word for word. They have the same experiences. Milo was abused when he was young, probably around the age of 13. He hasn't really confirmed it by a priest, and he's joked about it, and that's how he deals with his trauma. George Takei came out in an interview with Howard Stern, basically saying that while he was at camp, at the age of 13, a camp counselor, I believe he was 19 or 20, started making out with him, and then gave him a hand job, and George Takei was okay with it because he thought the camp counselor was hot. In the same vein that Milo Yiannopoulos is defending what happened to him, now, I want to say that Milo understands that he is a victim, but he doesn't feel like it. George Takei said the exact same thing, that it's okay that it happened to him. He enjoyed it, and yet no one is throwing a hissy fit about it. No one is calling for him to be held accountable for his actions. And I mentioned Bill Maher earlier. Bill Maher now claims that he was the start of Milo's downfall. And aside from being completely false and a little bit of hyperbole, Bill Maher was on record saying that he was actually okay with someone the age of 13 being assaulted by someone much older than them. And it wasn't in a joking manner either. I understand that Bill Maher is a comedian. He was discussing on his show the Mary Kay Letourneau case, where a female teacher had sex and was impregnated by her student at the age of 13. Not her, him. He was 13 and impregnated her. 13 or 14. And Bill Maher was on record saying that the only crime here was that there was no videotape of it. Actually condoning the actions of it. Going so far as to say that boys can't be raped. He must have wanted it because he had an erection. Good job, Bill. Victim blame like the best of them. And then we have the third example, because bad things come in threes, of a self-proclaimed sexual abuser openly admitting it in her own autobiography, a best-selling autobiography. Lena Dunham goes on record in saying that she was grooming her younger sister in ways that predators groom their prey and child molesters groom for attention of the child that they've chosen, going so far as to offering her treats and being able to watch whatever she wanted to give her attention. Now I know what you're saying. The detractors who are watching this, I know what you're saying. Lena Dunham was just a child. It's two innocent kids. Unfortunately, Lena Dunham said that this went on until she was 17, where she decided to openly masturbate next to her sleeping sister while she decided to slide her hands into her panties and figure things out. Where's the outrage? Now, again, there's issues that people have with this. What Milo said is a year old. The interview with George Takei was 11. Well, if a year ago matters, 11 years ago matter. And in George Takei's case, I'm sure the excuse is simple. Well, if you talk to him now, I'm sure he would say that he would use different language. I'm sure he would say that he's against it. I'm sure he would say that he doesn't believe what he said was taken in the correct context. Funnily enough, that's exactly what Milo said. So, if a year matters, then 11 years matter, and George Takei should have the same consequences. But he doesn't, because he is the poster child for the left. He's the correct type of gay. And as for Bill Maher, who openly condoned the actions and even asked for a videotape, who thinks also that it's impossible to victimize young men, because he had an erection, he must have wanted it, regardless of the fact that he was well under the age of consent. I'm sure if you talk to him now, he would say, I misspoke, it was just a joke, I don't believe that in the least. Kind of like what Milo Yiannopoulos said. So once again, if a year ago matters, 14 years ago matter. And with Lena Dunham, who is a predator, going so far as to committing acts of incest, openly admits it, and has yet to deny it, just calling it, oh, kids being kids. She still has her career. She hasn't been called out for anything. She hasn't had a huge backlash against her that was publicly shown. None of these people have, except Milo. I've said it once, and I will say it again, and I will say it every single time it gets pointed out to me. I hate double standards. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If it's not okay for Milo's beliefs to change within 365 days, then it's not okay for George Takei's beliefs to change within 11 years. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. If you can't accept the apology from one person, but you accept the apology from the other for the exact same thing, you're wrong. Now the question becomes, what do we do about it? What's the solution? Well, the solution is simple. Have the same thing happen to them that happened to Milo. And if you don't agree with that, your bias is showing. But of course, those are just my thoughts. I'd like to know yours. If you liked what I had to say, hit like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think I'm overstepping my bounds and thinking that the same thing that happened to Milo should happen to George Takei and Bill Maher and Lena Dunham? If you didn't like what I have to say, let me know. So once again, this has been Help for the Guildless. My name is Antoine. You can follow me on Facebook, and you can follow Cole on Twitch, Twitter, and Tumblr. All of the relevant links are down below. Thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope to be well enough to talk next time, and have a wonderful evening.